The Rothschild family is one of the wealthiest families on the planet, and is a name that frequently pops up in a multitude of conspiracy theories. The Rothschild family as we know it is descended from Mayer Amschel Rothschild, who was born in what is now Frankfurt, Germany. The son of Jewish money changer and trader Amschel Moses Rothschild, Mayer Amschel Rothschild was the fourth of 8 children, and went on to establish a huge international banking empire. Hello brewers, welcome back to another incredible video. Here at Dollar Brew we talk about education, wealth creation, history, and so much more. In today's video, we will be looking at 20 things you didn't know about the Rothschild family. Nowadays, the Rothschild family keep a very low public profile, which has led many conspiracy theorists to believe that they basically control the world from behind the scenes. Indeed, despite being less prevalent than they were 200 years ago, the Rothschild family still have business operations in a number of sectors, including finance, energy, charity, mining, winemaking, and farming. Here are 20 interesting and lesser-known things about the Rothschild family. 1. The Rothschild family are the wealthiest family in human history. This may come as a bit of a surprise, as you can browse through Forbes' extensive rich list and not find a single mention of the name Rothschild in their list of the 500 wealthiest people on Earth. This is because the Rothschilds' wealth has been distributed amongst hundreds of heirs throughout the years, and has therefore diluted each individual's personal fortune. Despite the dilution of the Rothschild family's wealth, there are still a number of extraordinarily wealthy individuals bearing the Rothschild surname. The largest of these fortunes belongs to the British financier Jacob Rothschild, who is worth around $5 billion USD, whilst another British financier, Sir Evelyn de Rothschild, has a fortune of $20 billion USD. 2. All 5 sons of Mayer Amschel Rothschild were noble. By noble we don't mean that they held high moral standards, although that may well have been, for all we know. What I mean by noble is that each of Mayer Amschel Rothschild's 5 sons were named as hereditary noble members of the Austrian aristocracy by Austrian Emperor Francis I. Strangely enough, for one reason or another, 4 of the 5 brothers were granted this hereditary noble status in 1816, with one of them being left out of this high status club until the year 1818. The 5 brothers are not the only members of the Rothschild family to be granted hereditary nobility. Sir Anthony de Rothschild was named a baronet of the United Kingdom in 1847, and Nathan Mayer Rothschild too was awarded the title Baron Rothschild in 1885, also in the United Kingdom. A great family indeed. 3. Nathan Mayer Rothschild won the Napoleonic Wars. The Napoleonic Wars started in 1803 and raged throughout the continent for 12 years before coming to an end in 1815. Although the Rothschild family already held a large fortune by the time the Napoleonic Wars begun, they didn't step in to intervene until towards the end of the war, in 1813. It was at this time that Nathan Mayer Rothschild saw Napoleon's war efforts as a threat to his business practices, and decided to step in to help defeat the French conqueror. Nathan Mayer Rothschild stepped into the conflict, not literally, he was a businessman for goodness sake, in 1813 and was the sole most important person in terms of financing the British war efforts. This started with the organization of precious metal shipments to the armies the Duke of Wellington had stationed across Europe. To add on to this, Nathan Mayer plowed a huge sum of money into financing the British Allies. This included nearly $10 million USD in 1815 alone, equivalent of nearly $900 million USD today. 4. Nathan Mayer Rothschild used a trick to gain control of the British economy. Nathan was in a position to either make a ton or lose a ton on the outcome of the Battle of Waterloo. There is a centuries-old urban legend that says he was the first to hear the news of the British Army's victory. It is said that he was stone-faced upon hearing this good news, as he had financed England's army. What did he do? Nathan Rothschild went out and sold stock to trick others into thinking that Britain had lost the battle. When things settled down, he then had his agents go out and repurchase that stock, plus some at a discount, resulting in a hugely profitable day for the family. 5. The Rothschild family is behind the Suez Canal and Brazil's independence from Portugal. Considering how many things the Rothschild family was involved in, you can see how the conspiracy theories have been circulating for the past 100 plus years. During the 19th century, if someone, something, or some cause needed a huge sum of money, the Rothschilds were the family to go to. An example of this is the Suez Canal, which connects the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea and is instrumental in trade between Asia and Europe. The Rothschild family was the main backer of the canal and England's decision to buy shares in it. 6. They owned the largest private zoological collection ever. One of the Rothschilds, Lord Walter, was passionate about zoology. When he was a child, he even collected animals and insects. He seemed to have reluctantly gone into the family business of banking, and finally in 1908 he was free to explore the world for various animal species after his parents established a zoological museum. He even commissioned other explorers to collect on his behalf. He famously drove a carriage driven by zebras to prove that the animals could be docile. His collection of animals and insects eventually grew into the hundreds of thousands, the largest ever owned by a private individual. 7. They are behind one of the largest mining corporations in the world. Rio Tinto, a mining company headquartered in Melbourne, Australia, was founded by a Rothschild venture. Founded in 1873 by a group of investors who purchased a mine complex in Spain from the Spanish government. It was at the end of the 1880s that the Rothschilds became involved with the company, and their production increased. The company now produces iron ore, copper, uranium, coal, diamonds, and more. The company is all over the world and operates through multiple subsidiaries. Queen Elizabeth herself is rumored to be a shareholder through a private bank account. Mining is just one venture that the enterprising Rothschild family are a part of. 8. They come from a line of cousin unions. Like many families of royal and noble status, intermarrying was apparently a thing amongst the Rothschilds. Cousin marriages were not uncommon for centuries. It was a way of keeping royal/noble/financial statuses stratified and contained. Meyer Amschel Rothschild, the founder of the family, clearly fell in line with this way of thinking. He arranged things so that the female members were limited in whom they could marry, if they wanted their inheritance. If they wanted their vast inheritance, they had to marry their cousins. From Rothschild's perspective, it was the best way of keeping the money in the family and out of the hands of outsiders. 9. They set the price of gold. In 1919, the Rothschilds and their colleagues, leading traders of the industry, began meeting twice a day to set the price of gold. Gold became one of the family's most valuable assets, and it eventually became a benchmark amongst the world markets. The meetings apparently went down like this: several participants would send their representatives to the Rothschild offices. They would then call their trading room and raise the Union Jack. Once all the flags had been lowered, the price had been agreed upon. The daily meetings continued from 1919 to 2004, when Barclays took up the spot that the Rothschilds once held. 10. They are linked to a number of conspiracy theories. Given their relative privacy and enormous wealth, it comes as no surprise that the Rothschild family is tied to a multitude of conspiracy theories. One such theory is that they heavily influence the U.S. Federal Reserve, a topic hotly debated to this day. Another is that they are invested or linked to secret societies such as the Illuminati. One such secret society rumor comes from World War I. The Rothschild family was present for the signing, so naturally rumors began that they were a part of the treaty that had them taking over the Bavarian Illuminati. There are more theories, but these are the ones that persist to this day. 11. They throw weird parties. Photographs emerged from a party the family held back in 1972. The strangeness of this party starts with the invitations themselves. They were sent in reverse, only readable if you held up a mirror to read it. Upon arriving at the building, the lights in the front were all red. Guests at these parties would wear animal-style heads and masks with multiple faces. Bird cages were also a thing at these parties. This may not seem as crazy or influential as some of these other facts, but it certainly doesn't help the rumors of the family being tied to a number of secret societies. 12. Their story has been told on stage and screen. With their wealth and influence on world events and politics, it's not that surprising that there would be fictionalized stories about the family. There was the 1934 film, aptly titled The House of Rothschild, starring Loretta Young and George Arliss. This film portrayed the life of both Meyer Amschel Rothschild and Nathan Meyer Rothschild. There was even a Broadway musical, The Rothschilds, that dealt with the family's history up to 1818. It was so well received that it was nominated for a Tony in 1971. Even when they're not appearing in stories about them, they've shown up in other fictional universes. An early Rothschild makes an appearance in Diana Gabaldon's Voyager as a coin seller. 13. They're in the winemaking business. Not only are they fabulously successful in the finance, mining, and various other sectors, they're also in the winemaking industry. For 150 years, in fact. Back in 1853, Nathaniel de Rothschild opened Chateau Mouton Rothschild, renaming it from what it was previously called, Chateau Brain Mouton. James Meyer de Rothschild expanded upon it by purchasing Chateau Lafite, which was right next door, and naming it Chateau Lafite Rothschild. Now the Rothschild family owns a multitude of wine estates in France: Chateau Clerc-Milan, Chateau de la Mouette, Chateau Rothschild d'Armainvilliers, and more. Their wines at the original two estates are under the classification of wines from France's Bordeaux region. 14. They live in palace-like homes. When you're as wealthy as the Rothschilds, your real estate is going to reflect that. There are many homes and estates owned by the Rothschilds that we can cover, but let's focus on one grand residence in particular. Chateau de Ferrières was built in 1855 in France for Baron James de Rothschild. It remained in the family for over a century, passing down its ownership through the male line. It is the largest 19th-century chateau in France, and certainly one of the most extravagant. It was built in the Neo-Renaissance style with massive gardens. In 1975, Guy de Rothschild donated the chateau to the University of Paris. 15. They have ties to the Vatican. Back when Italy was not yet Italy, a bank owned by the Rothschilds donated large loans to the Papal States and various kings of Naples, the Duchy of Parma, and the Grand Duchy of Tuscany. When Italy unified in 1861, the Italian aristocracy declined, and the Rothschilds were forced to close their Naples bank. But rather than this being the end of things in Naples, the Naples branch of the Rothschild family had become closely tied to the Vatican Bank, an association which continued into the 20th century. In fact, when Karl von Rothschild met Pope Gregory XVI in 1832, he was not required to kiss the Pope's feet. 16. They bailed out the US government. Long before the 2008 recession, there was another recession, one that preceded the famous one of the 1920s that led to the Great Depression. This one was the recession of 1895. During this year, the U.S. was going through one of the worst recessions in its young history. The government was running low on gold, and was concerned about not being able to pay off their debts. Naturally, President Grover Cleveland wanted to avoid defaulting on the government's departments. He reached out to Nathaniel Meyer Rothschild. Rothschild worked with J.P. Morgan, and they loaned the government the money to pay off its outstanding debts. This prevented a dreaded default and rescued the U.S. Treasury. 17. Nathaniel Rothschild is the youngest of the Rothschild siblings. Nathaniel Rothschild is the youngest among the four siblings and the only son of Jacob Rothschild and Serena Mary. He was born on July 12, 1971, to a Jewish father and Christian mother. His father is a banker in British investment, a prominent member of Rothschild banking family and an honorary president of the Jewish Policy Research Institute. His mother was a racehorse owner in Britain. She died on January 13, 2019. 18. One son took over the title held by their father. Rothschild & Company Bank has been under the ownership of Rothschild's family, and the management is hereditary. Nathaniel is the one to succeed his father in possession of the title, Baron Rothschild, according to Superyacht Fan. Rothschild's primary focus is the banking business, especially Rothschild and Company Bank. Being the only son in the family allowed him to inherit the management of the prominent bank of the family. Nathaniel has, however, always been active in the businesses of the family in banking and investing. 19. History of drug abuse. The start of something is immaterial, the end is what matters, as one of the Rothschild proves to the world. Despite being a prominent person, Nathaniel had some ups and downs as he was growing. According to Celeb Family, Nathaniel was known for vandalism and drug abuse. He belonged to Bullingdon Club that influenced him to drugs. Some of Nathaniel's friends who spent time drinking with him say that he could drink the whole night and then spend the day sleeping while dressed in his formal suit. During this time, Nathaniel had not taken full control of his life and seemed to be just enjoying the wealth of his father. As he grew up, he realized that he had a great name to protect and changed for the better. Nathaniel stopped using drugs and focused on becoming a great person in the future. The Change Initiative worked for him, and he has been successful in his career and protecting his father's legacy. Before we continue, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn your post notification on so as to never miss any video. 20. Link to the son of Muammar Gaddafi. It is said that one of the family members, Nathaniel, has essential links with Muammar's son Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, who is a suspect for various crimes associated with the oil wells in Libya. The two met in their educational journey, and since they are both investors, they shared ideas. Saif attended Nathaniel's 37th birthday, and the friendship has resulted in the two visiting each other. The close relationship between the two led to the organization of a dinner in New York to honor their friendship. However, the friendship of the two is only social since they never did business together. Nevertheless, there are some claims that Nathaniel is interested in the oil wells in Libya. That's all we have for you today. Let us know in the comment section below what you find the most fascinating about the Rothschild family. Thanks for watching. Check out more exciting videos here.